Klaus, technology aside, how was your day going today?
It's going good. I was kind of rushing around. We have two kids, so you know how it is these days. They don't really ride their bikes. They don't ride their bikes to school anymore. It's all us. so yeah, I just barely made it back in time, but I'm good. I had to get some stuff from storage because we're going to tour tomorrow, and my big giant ridiculously double guitar cases in storage. So that, and then I realized, oh shit, I got it back.
As long as you don't have the Rick Nielsen 5-neck guitar.
No. My shit's actually we have two. It's really funny. The last tour we went on was such a nightmare with the flight losing luggage that we started putting. We each have a double guitar case, so it holds two guitars each, and we just need two each. That's all we need. Usually just one, but you have a backup. Well, I'm left-handed, Mike's right-handed. So what we do, we were losing every flight. We would lose one bag, if not 5 bags. So we decided, let's try to separate the guitars as much as possible. And you take 2, one of mine, one of yours, and I'll take one of mine, one of yours. So if at least one bag makes it through, we can do the show. And that we've been doing. So I've basically had his guitar in my case for, whatever, a couple months now since the last tour. And he just opened his yesterday and was like, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, that's right, we do the thing. Because he's like, where's my guitar? Oh, it's Klaus's guitar.
Well, there you go.
It got to that because of, I heard it's because of COVID that they've just had all these trouble at airports getting stuff organized. But it's been consistently lost luggage.
On a brighter note, new record, touring in support of it. 3 singles have already done pretty well at radio. How long was this new album in the works for?
We started it actually right before COVID. We went to Texas. We were writing for about, I'd say, a few months before that. And we got together in Texas. I guess it was the end of 2019. Would that be right?
Yeah.
Right before COVID. And we went there for about a month, all of us, and did most of the basic tracks, the drums, bass, rhythm, guitars, that stuff. And then we everybody went home to their respective homes or whatever they are, and none of us live in the same city with each other, so we all just started doing the home shed, garage, bedroom recording, and got it piece by piece done. And then with the way end, we were like, we're kind of short a couple songs, and Whit and Dave got together in Florida, where Dave had moved recently. He actually moved during the pandemic to Florida, and in his extra bedroom, he built basically a recording studio, and it's pretty rad. Obviously you can't play drums up there, but Shannon happens to live pretty close to Dave, so Whit just flew there. They got together, they did 2 songs, they demoed 2 songs, went and met Shannon, booked a studio and laid the drums, and then did the rest in Dave's apartment. And that was the last 2 songs. So it was kind of like 2 chunks with a bunch of little chunks in between.
Well, one of the things I always loved about Ugly Kid Joe is that there was always humor. You're not a comedy band, but the album titles were always funny and pun oriented. The band name and the story behind that is funny. The lyrics are occasionally funny, but not a comedy band. Is the comedy the last thing that gets added, or is that actually part of the original idea of a lot of these songs and concepts?
I think it's something that how can I explain this? It's, you write a bunch of songs and you're like, some of these songs are really serious, but that's okay. And then sometimes it's like, gosh, comedy is tough because sometimes it just doesn't work, and the punchline doesn't work. And especially when you're actually a heavy metal hard rock band, it's not really a common theme, but I do believe it's an element that we've always had. Obviously, I think as people, we joke around a lot and we kind of make fun of what we do a lot. Just rock and roll is funny. A lot of it's really funny. And so it kind of sneaks its way in, basically. And I think with the album titles, for instance, that was something that started out for the first 2 records, where we did sort of a pun on another famous album or movie or something. And we did that for the first 2 records, and the record could have been whatever. It just, the titles usually don't have anything to do with what songs are. It's just the title. And usually the art kind of mirrors that, and that's about it. And then it's just basically just a box you put it in. So we always then we just ended up just like, let's keep, because there was every record we did after that, we would have names of ideas for record titles or album titles, and some of them wouldn't have that theme, but the ones with that theme would always end up winning. And then by the third, we're like, we should just stick with this. Like, we should just stick with the theme of taking a title that's already been and kind of twisting it. And so that's basically became the theme with this band. Every time now, from that third record on, it was like, yeah, no, it has to just be that way, kind of just has to.
The new one, which you did with Mark Dodson, he actually produced a couple of Judas Priest albums. And this one, I'm assuming, is a Judas Priest pun in the album title. Did Mark know that he was producing Red Wings of Destiny when he started on the project? Or did you have to tell them later on?
I think that's a good question. I don't think we had the title when we were working on it yet. The first chunk when we were working, and the title sort of developed because there was a list of names, about 10. And that one kept kind of sneaking its way to the top. So, and he even had some ideas, and one of his ideas was actually a Priest takeoff too. I think what the thing that, so I think it wasn't until later that he actually knew. And I think he really loved the idea of it being a Priest title, of course. Priest is kind of a weird binding band for the two parties, being the band ourselves and Mark Dodson, because he did work on Priest. That was one of when we saw his resume back in 92, when we saw that he had worked with Priest, and not just one, but a couple records, that was a huge positive for him, because we love Priest records. We love the way they sound. I mean, that's what a producer is. It's not about, we didn't want someone writing songs for us. We didn't want someone giving us an image. We just wanted a sound. And we like, we've always loved everything Priest has ever done. And so that was it's kind of cool in the end that we end up making a record with that guy. And then, Rob Halford sings on our first full-length record. And that was because of Mark. Mark knew him, said, hey, he was in town. You want to come by, listen to the song? Mark had it all in the back of his mind. I'm going to get him to sing, but I'm not going to push it. And it all just came together in 1 hour. And so, so that, I think it was kind of cool that full circle is that now we're doing, and our first show after doing most of the record was in Virginia Beach, opening for Judas Priest.
Wow.
And that happened I think it was November of last year, so about a year ago. So it was like, wow, this is kind of a weird full circle. And then someone asked me like, well, did you tell Rob that your record's called? And we're like, no, we didn't. Like, we're not gonna just guess what. He'd be like, oh, cool. Maybe he would have been totally blown away, but I think it's like, we just want to get it over with, because it was right during COVID and it was super strict and super gnarly. And we were even, all wearing masks, all staying away from everybody else. No one backstage at all. It was very isolated and COVID-y. So we didn't get in anybody's face about anything.
Got it. So you mentioned this album has 10 songs, and really 10 songs were written for it. Was that the case with most of the Ugly Kid Joes, that it was 1 for 1?
Well, I'm sorry, what do you mean by 1 for 1?
That you wrote, there were 13 songs on the album, and that's because you wrote 13 songs. Some bands have to write 40 because the A&R guy doesn't hear a hit. And then other bands go, we're just doing 13.
We would probably write, it'd be probably more like 16 to 18, then it whittles down to 8 is what happens. And then you realize we need more songs. And there was another song, like, why don't we just use the one? Like, and then, one member's like, no, I don't think that's what's good enough. And then it just kind of like, we were going to just have it be 8 songs. And then kind of last minute, it's like, well, let's see what we can do with these 2. And he went to see Dave, and, Dave's a producer. I mean, that's what he does. So he just, and you have one of the best drummers in the world that lives 15 minutes away, it worked.
Right. So at this point of Ugly Kid Joe's career, you had the big hits, you did the MTV thing, you now play the festivals and the things that you want to do. I'm curious when you kind of realized that the band was going to be okay being its own cottage industry, just being itself and playing to its audience, rather than having to try and cater to the old school world of, meet and greets and the like.
Well, I guess, this whole second, coming of the UKJ, sounds very religious, but you know what I mean? Like us getting back together, you know, none of us had any idea what it meant. We had just stayed relatively good friends over the years, and the idea came up to make a reunion album, and we all said, yeah, let's do it. It'd be fun. And so we did it. And then, you know, I personally was like, I don't think we're going to be able to tour unless we have like, it becomes, you know, we didn't know the new world. We might just release it online and maybe we'll have a hit, and or people will like it and enough people will buy it that will get picked up by whatever. And it didn't really happen like that. It was more like just pounding the pavement, making phone calls. You know, there's a lot of people, he's been in a lot of bands, just like trying to get a tour. And because that was his real dream, was to tour again and play live. And so we slowly but surely started getting gigs over the years. And so the gigs, by doing tours, it's what kind of kept the band together, honestly. It wasn't like we were planning to make 3 new records. We were just, let's do a record and see what happens. And by doing the tours then after that, and actually being able to meek out earning with it, and to actually do it to where it's like, you know, the first few tours we didn't make any money, but slowly but surely we started figuring it out. And Whit hired another guy to kind of co-manage with him, and so they figured out a way to actually make it work. And you know, it's been kind of hodgepodge, and it's been, you know, we haven't had the same lineup every time, but you know, because it's hard to really be a touring band these days, you know, especially if you do it like in little chunks of like a 2-month run in the summer and then a 2-month run in the fall. It's like everybody's got day jobs in between, and it's hard to get the same group of people together. So we've been able to pull it off. And you're right, it's kind of like its own little business. It's like a small business, and you know, it is working. It's been fun, and we've been actually playing some of the most amazing shows we've played. You know, we've had a few different booking agents over the last 10 years, and even with our last booking agent, we ended up playing the biggest show of our entire career, which was Polish Woodstock. And you know, that was weird because here we are, I think we were probably pushing 50, and we're like playing the biggest show. You know, we thought, you know, we always assumed the heyday was you know, when we had that hit song and we had that, you know, Ozzy tour and America's Least Wanted went platinum and all that, we were like, okay, this is, you know, it's really, we knew that we saw the writing on the wall. Like, this is a really unique situation to have a worldwide hit for a hard rock metal band. And it's a song that's very different from, I guess you could say, the bulk of our material. It was a pop crossover song, and we realized, you know, that it was like kind of a stroke of luck, lightning in a bottle, whatever you want to call it, like where, oh shit. And then, you know, no one expected it, and we rode that wave for 2 years straight, like just touring the world. And so we knew, okay, this doesn't happen twice, and so we better enjoy it. But we also wanted to continue a career, and it wasn't that long, but to have it redone again now, you know, 13 years after the breakup, and seeing that there's people coming to the shows, you know, whether it be 80 people or, you know, doing a festival to the 80,000, you're like, there's still a place for us somewhere in the world to play, and it's pretty cool.
The last question before I let you go here is, the band was, you know, jokingly named after Pretty Boy Floyd, which, you know, they appear every now and then. Well, one of the members of that band has become a booking agent that people know about and utilize. I'm curious if you've had any run-ins in recent years with members of Pretty Boy Floyd.
No, what's his name?
I think it's Steve Summers is the booking agent.
Okay.
I don't know if it's APA or Artists Worldwide or one of the LA agencies.
No, honestly, a cool story about them, I have to say, is right after we sort of had that big hit and we sort of became famous, I guess you could say, we were in the studio doing America's Least Wanted, and we got a call at the studio, you know, the front, you know, back in the day, no one had cell phones. So it was like, yeah, there's a call from a guy from Pretty Boy Floyd. And at first I was like, okay, that's interesting. I was like, wait, could they be mad at us? You know, you don't know, you know, especially in that weird rock and roll ego world, you don't know who's mad or all that bullshit you always hear about, you know, the stories. So I was like, yeah, I guess I'll take it. And the guy was super nice and was like, hey, I'm so-and-so from Pretty Boy Floyd. We've gotten so much traction from you guys' story about how you named your band that I wanted to thank you. And I'm like, you're welcome. And thank you. So yeah, it's been, yeah.
That is the happy ending I was not expecting. So Klaus,
there you go.
I'm glad you've got a new record. I'm glad that
Thank you.
this is not the last record, not the last tour, and there's a possibility of seeing you guys live in New York or this part of the
Yeah.
world in the near future. So thank you for your time and continued success to you and team.
Thank you.
Paltrocast.